Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another narrated Pokemon X and Y Wi-Fi battle. Today's battle is an epic match against none other than MarcelVos, and we both brought a variety of really fun and interesting Pokemon to this battle, which I think makes it a really cool and epic battle to watch, as well as being a really fun battle that I ended up playing out on my stream the other day. But to tell you a little bit about my team before we get started, I'm using a pretty typical Persian with Fake Out, Frustration, Knockoff, and U-Turn, a defensive Corsola, which is also my stealth rocker of this team, and it does make a pretty fantastic mixed wall with its pretty good defense and special defense stats, as well as also having the access to the regenerator ability to keep its health up throughout battle. I'm using an Unburdened Sceptile, which activates Unburden through the use of Leaf Storm and a White Herb, a defensive Weezing, a physically oriented Sap Sipper Girafarig, and then a defensively oriented Salamence, which is basically meant to come in, intimidate things, and resist a bunch of different types with its really good typing, as well as also get rid of entry hazards through the use of Defog. So without any further ado, let's just jump into things right now. So to start things off, I'm going to lead off with my Persian, as my opponent decides to lead off with his Azumarill. Now, being a Persian in the lead position, I'm obviously just going to want to go for the Fake Out for the free damage, so I do just that, and it does about a fifth of Azumarill's health, which basically means that I won't be even close to trying to hit KOing it with, say, a Frustration on the following turn. So I'm just going to U-turn out of there and go into my Weezing, maybe hoping he goes for the Play Rough. He decides to go for his Stab Water move instead, and that did a lot more damage than I was expecting it to, pretty much revealing to me that this is definitely a banded Azumarill. But because I packed the super effective Sludge Bomb, now that Azumarill is also a Fairy type, I'm going to go for that right here as he switches out into his Ampharos, obviously wanting to preserve his Azumarill, and his Ampharos, as you see right here, has more than enough special defense to take practically no damage from that Sludge Bomb. But thankfully, because this is a Mega Ampharos, meaning he probably really isn't investing into speed at all, I'm actually going to be able to outspeed it on this turn and go for the Pain Split, which is going to bring me up to actually a really significant amount of HP, making my Weezing pretty much negate all the damage it took from the Aqua Tail on the previous turn. But he's going to reveal to me right now that he is kind of a setup Parafusion set, as he goes for the Cotton Guard and then the Confuse Ray on this turn. Thankfully though, I do get the Poison from my Sludge Bomb, which is going to be very helpful in wearing down this Ampharos over time. But unfortunately, on the first turn that I am confused, I am going to hit myself as my opponent goes for the Discharge and actually lands the Paralysis on my Weezing. Now this might seem really bad at the time because my Weezing is now paralyzed, but this actually is something that I significantly benefited from throughout the entire battle, and you're going to see why in the coming turns. But I know my opponent isn't going to want to risk losing his Ampharos right here, so I actually go for the Pain Split on this turn. Unfortunately though, I do hit myself in confusion, so I don't get to get all my health back up by going for the Pain Split on this Vaporeon, but obviously I do not want to lose my Weezing just yet. So I'm going to go out of my Sceptile right now, predicting the Scald. My opponent actually makes a fantastic play right here, going for the Ice Beam, knowing that that would have probably took out my Weezing anyway, and also obviously dealing super effective damage to my Sceptile. Now unfortunately, I do lose quite a bit of health on the Sceptile, but I am going to, still try and keep this thing alive for as long as possible, because I do want to be using the Sceptile. He has a few things on this team that I could really use Sceptile to kind of take out very easily, but as you see right here, as I went for the Energy Ball, he actually doesn't take it that well despite being, a Tangrowth with the resist, so he kind of reveals to me that he's just probably a fully physically defensive Tangrowth. As I bring in my Girafarig, hoping that he might go for a Grass move or something, he's just going to 2-hit KO me with Knockoff there, and after revealing he had Knockoff, I obviously didn't want to switch out into anything else on my team for it to lose its item, so I just kind of left my Girafarig in there to die, which is very unfortunate because I love using Girafarig. But I'm just going to bring in my Persian right here, go for the Fake Out, and then go for a U-turn on the following turn just to kind of get a little bit of damage off on this Tangrowth. And I'm actually going to decide to U-turn out into my Weezing right here, expecting him to go for either a Grass type move or another knockoff, or at least a Sleep Powder. Luckily for me, he actually goes to the Sleep Powder, and because I am now poisoned, I can't be put to sleep, and because I have a special attack in the form of Sludge Bomb against a Pokemon that is pretty much max physical defense, I know that this Weezing at this point in the battle is just a complete counter to his Tangrowth, so I'm going to try and bring this in as often as possible on his Tangrowth to kind of take advantage of that. But he actually goes out into his Mega Ampharos right there, kind of sacrificing it, also maybe predicting me to Pain Split, because obviously his Ampharos is at a very low range of health, but not really having anything on my team to take a Boom Burst other than my Corsola, I'm going to switch out into that right now, and as you can see, it actually takes this extremely well, considering that this is probably a Specs Exploud. So I'm actually going to go for a Confuse Ray on the following turn if he wanted to stay in and just keep going for Boom Bursts, and I'm going to actually confuse this Azumarill instead, and then instead of kind of setting up Stealth Rock or anything like that, I'm actually just going to go for the Scald, hoping that I can maybe take an Aqua Tail or a Play Rough from this thing, because my Corsola is pretty defensive, and also because he is confused. I was hoping I could maybe get a burn with Scald, but as you see on the first turn and now the second turn I'm going for Scald, I unfortunately do not do that. He did hit himself in confusion once though, which did kind of buy me a turn and getting a little bit more damage on this Azumarill, but he's just going to clean me out with a Play Rough on the following turn. But this gives me the perfect opportunity to now bring in my Persian and revenge kill it, but knowing he's going to want to keep this Ampharos alive, rather than just going for Fake Out, I just go for the U-turn, knowing he's going to switch right out into his Tangrowth, and then choosing to actually try and take this thing out as quickly as possible. I go into my Sceptile, and the reason why I didn't go into Weezing here was because it might be a little less obvious to go into Sceptile, because he might not expect me to have the super effective hidden power, but I do, as he goes to the knockoff, and thankfully brings me down to 1 HP, so I do not lose the Sceptile just yet, which is very important. Now he actually knocks off my White Herb right here, which kind of stinks because I can't just go for Leaf Storm if I want to now, but he actually did activate my Unburden in the process, which is really good. So on the off chance that this was maybe a Scarfed Exploud, I know for a fact I'm going to outspeed it right now. I just go for a Focus Blast, thankfully it hits, and I'm just going to be able to one-shot this Exploud, which is really nice. I calc the crit damage afterwards. Apparently the crit didn't matter at all. We kind of had a little debate about that, but knowing he now brings in his Azumarill to revenge kill this with an Aqua Jet gives me a free opportunity to just switch out into my defensive Salamence to easily take that. I get off the Intimidate, and I also have the Resist. So now I'm actually going to go for the Earthquake on the following turn, just in case he wanted to stay in and maybe he was bluffing the Choice Band the whole time. It could have definitely been a possibility. He could have just went for a Play Rough right there if he wasn't banded. So I did go for the Earthquake just to be safe, even though I knew he was probably going to switch out and could have went for the Dragon Claw. But either way, he's just going to bring in his Tangrowth, and because I have, you know, the switch into Weezing right now, I'm just going to do it. Even if he has the Leech Seed, it's not really going to matter too much because he's only going to be taking away just a little bit of my health each turn, which isn't really that big of a deal because I can obviously threaten him out very easily with the super effective Sludge Bomb hitting his weaker defense. So I know that he's going to switch out right here, so I actually decide to go for the Pain Split again. Thankfully I don't get paralyzed, and I'm able to actually get pretty much all the way up to full health against this Vaporeon, which is absolutely amazing for me because I am now able to just kind of keep my Weezing really healthy throughout this battle, as he obviously, you know, is bringing his Vaporeon to kind of deal significant damage to anything on my team, or at least Wish Pass to something. But knowing he's going to probably want to go for the Wish or something like that, I go out into my Persian, hopefully expecting this to be more of a specially defensive Vaporeon so I could maybe hit its weaker defense with a Frustration. But seeing him go for the Wish right there, I kind of expected him to go right out into Azumarill. He doesn't do that though, he kind of stays in, maybe obviously expecting me to expect that, and he's going to go for a Scald, which is going to do quite a significant chunk of damage to this Persian. As you saw, it actually does 70 points of damage and then 69 on the following turn, leaving me again at 1 HP in this battle. But I do go for the knockoff, which is really good because I'm going to get rid of this thing's leftovers and then go for a Frustration on the following turn as my Persian is going to go down to pretty much bring this Vaporeon down to practically half health, which is really good range for me to be extremely confident in me being able to KO it with an Energy Ball. But I decide to go for that right now and then just go for it again on the following turn. I don't want to kind of play games with him possibly predicting a switch out, or predicting me to expect him to switch out into his Tangrowth going for the Hidden Power Fire, and he just actually sacrifices his Azumarill right there, which is unfortunate for him because that was the one thing left on his team with priority. So now I technically outspeed everything on his team with Sceptile, which is really important to make note of. But again, he brings in a Tangrowth, so I know that. Go right out into my Weezing. He can't really do anything about that, and just go for a Sludge Bomb now that I don't have to really worry about Pain Split. And I actually do pack the Thunderbolt as well on this Weezing, so I go for that this turn, but unfortunately I get paralyzed as he goes for the Wish, which is very unfortunate because now he's going to be able to protect on the following turn and get his Vaporeon up to pretty much almost full health right here. I would say that's about like 80-75%, and then just go for another Wish on the following turn. As I just decided to burn it, even though I did have the Thunderbolt, I figured this would be more beneficial to me to have this thing have a status on it to wear it down slowly throughout battle as opposed to just get damage on it right away. But knowing he's going to obviously want to go for the Scald now, being able to take pretty much any hit for my Weezing, I'm going to go into my Salamence right here to easily take the Scald, obviously because of the resist and me being more of a defensive variant. Now obviously I am terrified of Ice Beam right here, and I fully expected him to just go for it, but actually fortunately for me really, he actually decides to just go for the Scald instead. He might not have expected me to be a defensive variant, so he was probably just going for the Scald maybe to get a burn on me as opposed to just KO me outright with an Ice Beam possibly. I'm not really sure his mentality in those couple of turns, but I'm just going to keep attacking this thing and bring it down to a low range of health, or as low range of health as possible, which is going to allow me to now on the following turn go out into my Sceptile, pretty much convinced that he was going to go for the Protect on this turn. Now, he actually decides, you know what, I can probably take a Dragon Claw from anything on my team, so I'm actually going to Wish Pass into my Mienshao right here, and this actually scared me out because I knew that Mienshaos typically pack the Fake Out, so I don't want to obviously take the priority with my Sceptile, so I'm actually going to go out into my Salamence right here as my opponent makes another really fantastic play going for the Stone Edge, which is pretty much the best thing for him to really go with on this turn, because even if he were to go for High Jump Kick, I have two things on my team that resist it, so it's really not a move that he wants to go for. But he goes for a second Stone Edge right here to try and clean out my Salamence. I switch out to my Weezing, and thankfully he actually misses it, which is really good for me because I'm able to keep my Weezing at around 100 health, which is really good. But he's going to go out into his Vaporeon, kind of sacrifice it right here, not wanting me to obviously burn this Mienshao or just do some solid damage to it or Pain Split or something like that. But he's actually just going to bring it right back in on the following turn. No longer is intimidated, so he's going to do a significant chunk of damage to my Weezing. And I'm just going to go back into Salamence to get off the Intimidate yet again, and then go into my Sceptile on the following turn. Because he doesn't have Fake Out, or at least he revealed to me that he didn't have Fake Out, I don't really have to worry about it, so I'm actually just going to hope that he isn't Scarfed and go for the Leaf Storm. He actually switches out right here, which pretty much reveals to me right now that he isn't Scarfed, which means that my Sceptile is definitely going to be able to outspeed it. So even though, you know, I do still pack this super effective hidden power, my special attack is lower now because of going for the Leaf Storm. So I'm just going to go back out on my Weezing. Again, complete counter to this Tangrowth, can't really do anything about it. So I'm just going to go for a Sludge Bomb right here. And as you see from this range, even on a not even remotely offensive Weezing, I'm able to just one-shot this Tangrowth from about 75% of its health. Even though he does miss the Leaf Seed right there, it didn't really matter because I'm obviously going to just take him out and I wouldn't have took damage right there. But I'm just going to go for the Pain Split right here as he goes for another Stone Edge, which is going to be doing quite a significant chunk of damage to my Weezing. I'm just going to, you know, obviously Pain Split to get up health and then go for a Sludge Bomb on the following turn. And then he reveals to me that he is actually, I think, a banded Mienshao, because he's going to be locked in on his Stone Edge right there and then KO me with Struggle while simultaneously KOing himself with Struggle Recoil. So that was pretty much the battle right there. The only thing I had left on my team was another 1 HP survival Pokemon, just like in the previous battle, which was my Sceptile. However, even if he did PP max his Mienshao, I still would have been able to outspeed him, and from the range he was at, I would have easily been able to clean him out with an Energy Ball, giving me the victory in the battle no matter what. But thank you, Marcel, for the battle. I had a ton of fun with this battle. It was definitely a really, really epic match, and I'm glad we were able to have this on my stream the other day, while also using kind of a really fun variety of Pokemon on both of our teams. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video. So as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.